Imagine a world with no kings, no laws, no palaces, only firelight flickering against cave walls. In this world, power wasn't measured in gold or crowns. It was measured in desire. A single glance, a shared meal, or a whispered promise could decide who lived safely in the heart of the tribe and who was left to face the darkness alone. What if I told you that in the Stone Age, sex wasn't just survival, it was politics? When we think about early humans, it's easy to imagine raw instinct, driving everything: hunt, eat, survive. But attraction in the Stone Age was far more layered. Choosing a partner wasn't simply about who looked strong or who caught your eye by the fire. It was a decision with weight, a gamble that could decide your place in the tribe and the future of your children. A skilled hunter, for example, wasn't just admired for his ability to kill prey. His strength symbolized protection, food security, and influence. To be with him was to step closer to safety and status. But attraction wasn't one-sided. Women, too, brought immense value. A woman connected to respected families could bring her partner powerful allies, easing conflicts and strengthening his position within the group. So when eyes met across the fire, or when a piece of meat was offered and accepted, the gesture carried layers of meaning. It wasn't romance, as we imagine it today. It was politics disguised as desire, a subtle negotiation where every choice echoed through the tribe, shaping not just personal lives, but the survival of everyone around them, around the campfire. The real negotiations of love and power began. Meals weren't just about eating, they were about signaling. When a hunter shared his catch with a particular woman, the entire tribe was watching. To some, it was generosity. To others, it was a clear statement: this is my choice. This is my alliance. Women, too, wielded influence in these moments. Accepting food wasn't just gratitude. It was a public declaration, a shift in social alignment. It meant that she might soon share not just his meals, but his protection and his status. And when this happened, whispers rippled through the camp. Rival hunters might feel threatened, other women might feel excluded, and the balance of tribal politics could tilt overnight. But these alliances weren't always stable. If the hunter failed in his next hunt, if hunger set in, or if a rival emerged stronger, loyalty could falter. What looked like a partnership of strength could dissolve into cold glances and broken bonds. In the harshness of the Stone Age, affection was fragile, a fire that needed constant fuel, or it risked being extinguished by the winds of survival. Every smile, every touch, every shared glance carried weight. In a world without written laws or permanent shelters, trust and attraction were the glue that held tribes together, and sometimes the spark that tore them apart. A single misstep could shift everything. Imagine a woman who once accepted a hunter's gift, now laughing by the fire with his rival, or a hunter, once proud and admired, returning empty-handed for too many nights in a row. Suddenly, the alliances formed through desire began to crack. The tribe whispered, loyalties shifted, and new unions started forming under the watchful eyes of everyone desire in the stone. Age was not a private matter, it was everyone's business. To survive, tribes needed to know where each bond stood, because those bonds decided who ate first, who slept closest to the fire, and who stood shoulder to shoulder when danger came. Attraction was strategy, romance was negotiation, and love was as much about survival as it was about the heart. This fragile web of relationships was never still. It constantly reshaped itself, bending under pressure, breaking in betrayal, and reforming with new strength. For our Stone Age ancestors, sex wasn't just about passion. It was a transaction, a negotiation that could decide life or death. Choosing a partner meant choosing an alliance, and every union carried unspoken promises of food, protection, and shared labor. Picture a hunter laying a freshly killed deer at the feet of a woman. On the surface, it looks like a simple gift, but in truth, it was a declaration: I can provide, I can protect. Her response was just as meaningful. If she accepted, the entire tribe understood that a bond was forming, one that reshaped the group's balance of power. This wasn't limited to hunters. A skilled toolmaker, a healer, or someone with knowledge of migration routes could become just as valuable. Desire became a way to secure influence, a currency exchanged in a world where survival was always uncertain. Sex was never private in these small communities. Every decision echoed loudly, affecting not only the couple but the entire tribe. Attraction was weighed against resources, and passion was balanced with practicality. To survive, early humans had to think strategically, because in their world, desire was never free. In every tribe, there were those who stood above the rest. Dominant hunters, warriors, or leaders who controlled access to food and safety. These individuals often secured more mates, not only through attraction but through sheer power. Sex, in this context, became a form of social engineering. By pairing with members of influential families, a leader could strengthen his position, reduce conflict, and unite rival groups under a fragile peace. Think of it as the first political marriage, not written in treaties or signed in documents, but sealed with shared meals, firelight conversations, and the subtle acknowledgement of who slept beside whom. These unions were public spectacles, even when disguised as private choices. Everyone in the tribe knew what was at stake, because alliances formed through intimacy could prevent bloodshed or ignite it. For those without status, sex could still be a ladder upward. A healer whose skills saved lives, or a forager who always returned with food, could attract powerful partners and gain protection through connection. In this way, desire was never separated from strategy. It was a tool, a weapon, and a bridge between survival and extinction. But these alliances, no matter how strategic, were never guaranteed. A single misstep could unravel them. Jealousy often sparked conflict. One stolen glance, one whispered meeting in the shadows, and suddenly the tribe found itself divided. A rejected suitor might challenge a rival, not always to win back affection, but to protect pride and status. In a world where survival depended on reputation, losing face could be as dangerous as losing a hunt. Sometimes, betrayal cut deeper than hunger. A new, more impressive hunter arriving in the tribe could shift loyalties overnight, leaving former partners abandoned and exposed. Love and desire, though powerful, were fragile currencies. They could bind a group together or fracture it in ways that threatened everyone's survival. Even the elders were aware of this volatility. They sometimes intervened, arranging unions not for passion, but for the greater good of the tribe. To them, sex and partnership were political tools, essential for maintaining balance. In the end, sex was never just sex. It was survival, dressed as intimacy, strategy disguised as affection. Every choice carried ripples: who ate first, who slept safest, and ultimately, who would live to see another sunrise. As tribes grew larger, relationships became more than personal choices. They became strategies for power. Leaders and dominant hunters often secured multiple partners, not only to spread their genes, but to reinforce their influence. Every union they formed was like signing a treaty, ensuring loyalty, securing food, and strengthening defenses against rival groups. But this wasn't just brute dominance. It was calculated social engineering. A leader who paired with someone from a rival family could ease tensions and create new alliances. A woman who partnered with a skilled toolmaker or healer could elevate her standing, bringing her family closer to the center of power. These partnerships were silent negotiations, with each side weighing the risks and rewards. For those without strength or status, sex was still a way to gain influence. A skilled forager, a resourceful builder, or a clever negotiator might find themselves sought after, their talents turning them into valuable partners. In this way, sexual politics determined who had a voice in decision-making and who remained in the shadows. It was clear in the Stone Age, intimacy was never separate from survival. It was the foundation of politics itself. But where power and intimacy intertwined, conflict was never far behind. A stolen glance, a whispered promise, or a suspected betrayal could ignite rivalries that turned deadly. In small tribes where every life mattered, losing trust wasn't just personal, it could weaken the entire group's survival. Jealousy often spilled into violence. A rejected suitor might challenge a rival publicly, not only to win affection, but to preserve his pride and status. Losing face could be just as dangerous as losing a hunt. One fight over a partner could fracture alliances, reshaping the delicate balance of the tribe overnight. Sometimes, the tribe itself stepped in. Elders and leaders understood that one broken relationship could spiral into chaos. They pressured individuals into unions that served the greater good, pairing hunters with skilled foragers, or uniting families to secure resources. These decisions weren't always about love. They were about survival, politics, and keeping the fragile web of trust intact. And yet, desire often defied the rules. Forbidden liaisons happened, hidden in shadowy caves, or stolen during hunts. These secret bonds carried immense risks, but also showed how human passion could never be fully controlled. Even within these strict boundaries, genuine bonds did form. Two people might share laughter beside the fire, comfort each other during hunger, or face predators side by side. These emotional ties strengthened cooperation, reducing conflict and building resilience within the tribe. Love, in its truest sense, made survival easier, but it was always shadowed by strategy, because nothing was permanent. A failed hunting season, a new rival, or a sudden death could unravel even the strongest union. Survival required adaptability, and those who thrived were often those who could hold on to affection fiercely yet release it when alliances shifted over time. These patterns shaped the very roots of society. Power was passed down not only through skill or strength, but through relationships. Who you partnered with determined who ate first, who commanded respect, and who built a legacy. Desire, politics, and survival became one intertwined system, an unspoken rule book that guided humanity long before laws or kings existed in the Stone Age. Love was never just love. It was survival, strategy, and destiny woven into every shared glance and every whispered promise. It shaped not only individuals, but the fate of entire tribes.